Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the next year, the year of the Nature Miramichi year. That was really good, wasn't it? Obviously, I didn't think about that too much. For all of you that don't know, my name is Sonia Hines. I'm the secretary for the club, and I'm introducing our speaker for tonight. So Brian Donovan has perfected the trail cam technique with 20 trail cameras set, which he checks every 3 weeks, both winter and summer, in a remote section bordering the Renous Highway in the most densely forested area in New Brunswick. Brian has been intensively doing this project probably for several years and has learned much about the mammals featured in his videos and photos. Brian's 5 years spent doing a forestry degree at UMB undoubtedly spurred this routine visit to the Deep Woods project he will be sharing with us today. So,
Thank you very much. Okay, I was just telling them that my previous presentation in Nelson was to a class of grade 4s, and they had a ball. What I asked them to do at the end of the presentation was to list all the animals that they saw during the presentation, put them all on the board, and they were making up things that I just elephant. No, I don't think we had any. I don't think we have any elephants in there. Well, I want to just tell you that. And then one little fella, he said, "Wolverine, I saw a Wolverine." I said, "No, but I like you. I think that's awesome. I think that if you're doing that." The as you were told, I've been doing this for about 6 years, and you think this is my first time on PowerPoint too. I've been doing this for about 6 years. I started this on, I have 3 different woodlots in the area. I've got a woodlot up towards the mines. I bought a telescope camera, Canadian Tire, about 6 years ago.
Sorry.
And I've set it up in that woodlot, and I had a fisher come along. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool, because you don't get to see very many fishers in the area. I've seen 6 personally. Which is probably quite a few, just given I'm in their habitat quite a bit. Seen probably a dozen marten as well. Set that up, and then about a month or 2 later, I got a picture of a lynx. And I went, oh, well, okay, this is a little addictive. I think I'm going to start doing this. So long story short, I have about 20 cameras in the woods. And as you heard, I go to about every 3 weeks. So what I want to do is go through a variety of different things here tonight. Who are the species that we're targeting, or what are the species that we're targeting? Where do I, at a high level, at a macro level, try and figure out where I'm going to put the cameras? Then on the ground, what am I looking for specifically? And bear in mind the types of animals that we're trying to get pictures of or videos of. Talk a little bit about some of the issues that we deal with. Get into that as well. If I can connect to Amazon, I'll show you sort of some of the cameras that are out there, just as an example. And then I have probably 10 or 15 minutes of just straight up clips, just to show you what's going on there. So I'll start. Melanie, Ian, you can both still see?
Yep.
Wonderful. In alphabetical order, I'm just going to let this play through. I think it's about 4 minutes long or something. Latecomer. Jump right over, no problem. We're not sure if that tongue's out to taste the air or just stamping a knot. Say we, I mean the universe. Is that a male bird? Yeah. Males have a higher skull, bigger ridge in the top. It's kind of a neat capture. He didn't come up with a little mouse in his mouth, but I'm pretty sure there's one there. So we can get talking about that. It's a big cat. Pretty cat. Mostly at night, the lynx, I've had over 30 lynx, over 50 fishers, different unique animals. These two little scamps. You'll see the box off in the distance as well too, right on the left-hand side there. Those are marks, right? Yeah, those are marks. This has been a great spot. I've had a camera here for 4 or 5 years now, and there's always mark here.
That's the location you took us.
That's correct. That's right. We actually installed a box across the road from here, and we had one martin come up and look at it, but never. The boxes were there to try and get young, for them to have young in them. Never had that yet. I have 7 boxes out, 3 for Fisher and 4 for Merrick.
That log looks familiar too.
Yeah, you walk that log too.
I did. Cool shot. That's a
Yeah. Yeah. Just cooling off, like in the heat of the summer. You'll see this pond again with a different set of animals in it. These are fun to watch too. That's good.
You find them more active early?
Oh yeah. Moose are around at daybreak. Yeah. I get a lot of animals at night, so when I get them during the day, it's great. This my nephew looked at this and said, "That's me looking for my golf ball." Yeah, I play golf with you. Go again now. I'm probably 25 or 30 kilometers from the community where these raccoons were. I've had raccoons as far as about the halfway in, up in that area. Uh, Probably, actually, that's a good question, Peter. Probably July or August. Yeah, yeah, I didn't notice at the bottom, but I'm guessing that's what it was. Let's get rid of that. There we go. That's what I want. Okay. Might pull up a chair for this. So, where do we set these up? So what I'll do is I suspect most of you are familiar with GONB. So what I do, I know the maps and the regions that I'm in quite a bit now. I think I have this live, yep. I've had, and do 2 things here real quick. Get rid of the local governance. It's not a political statement, it's just in the way. And I'm gonna pull this up. So, City of Miramichi here, when I'm looking to go into different areas, and I've had the cameras in really 3 regions. I've had them up around Steel Mines. If you're not too familiar with the structure of these maps and so forth, trust me, this is the Steel Mines region. I have a property up in here as well too, so that's where I started with the cameras. Then I did some up in just below the Christmas Mountains region. that was a long day every day that I went up to do those because I was driving probably 400 kilometers, something like that round trip. From the time I'd leave, I'd leave home at 6 in the morning, get home at 6 or 7 at night to go look at animals. So I don't know, maybe crazy, but whatever. Um, Part of the challenge is with any locations that are off the main highway, once the snow flies, then I need to use a snowmobile, and I don't own a snowmobile, haven't had one for a while, or I need to get closer to the roads. So between us here, a lot of my cameras along the Plaster Rock Highway because it's easier. I can get there all through the winter time. When I have to snowshoe, I'm snowshoeing 8 or 9 kilometers, generally in sprints of anywhere from 300 or 400 meters up to a kilometer for each time I'm going to check the cameras. And when I put cameras at a location, I generally don't just use one, I'll use 2 or 3, generally at most locations. So I'll keep 7, 8, 9, 10 locations active depending on time of the year and what I'm doing. And I'll have 2 or 3 or 4 there depending on the different circumstances of where they are. If it's a long walk in, I'll usually try and do 3 or 4 and I'll spread them out in the region that I'm in. But if I'm looking at an area, so I'm going to just do this. These trousers are too far up. There we go. So there's the Kennedys, one of the Kennedys. If I look at an area like this is the Plaster Rock Highway, and there's a number of different features that I see here. So I see a brook here. This is actually Quigley Brook. If any of you see me on Facebook, I actually walked this section yesterday and I took some pictures. There's no water. It's just rock now, basically. There's very, very little water. Pretty nice steep hill there, but locations like this catch my eye. So this is an old beaver pond that's been dried up, but there's natural walkways through something like this. There's an old trail here that if the trail's not being used and not growing up too much in alders, that's probably a natural runway for animals, for different types of animals, depending on what we're looking at. This was interesting to me as well, too. Here's a softwood stand in the middle of a larger hardwood ridge. You can see all this light colored hardwood and the dark softwood in the middle. So, and this is actually at elevation. This is the top of the elevation here. It drops back off to the brook on this side and it drops off to the road on this side. And you can see that there was a road that was put up through. This is actually part of the Kennedy's Lakes area. So they must have put a road in previous to the Kennedy Lakes being established. And then the road is just starting to grow in slowly over time. There are some research plots in there that I've noticed as well too. I've seen some flags and things of people that are, I think, at UNB that are doing research in there. Not sure what, but looks like they make just a variety of different forest conditions and so forth. But something like that's very interesting. This is actually where the marten videos are being taken. This is where the local nature group went up. This was one of our stops. We put a marten box up in here. So whoops. As I'm as I'm looking for places like that, I look for natural locations like so if I see something like this where there was a cut here, got a quite a large open bog area here. This tells me there's probably a runway here. There's probably a travel way that animals are using along here somewhere. They're following down. It's a natural flow all through here. Sometimes it's even more distinct if the cut boundaries are right up to the edge of, whoops. No. If the cut boundaries are right, stop that, Brian, to the edge of the brook and things like that. So you saw that there were a number of different animal species in there. So depending on what I'm looking for and what I see, really, I'm just letting the maps tell me what are good possible locations if I'm doing it when the snow's not there versus when the snow is there. If I'm doing it when the snow is there, I probably don't want to snowshoe 4 or 5 kilometers in one direction to go check 3 cameras. I don't know, maybe I'm a little lazy, but that's a lot for me. So if I was looking at this region here, this isn't too bad here. This is a few hundred meters up to the top of the hill, excuse me, a few hundred up and down. It's a pretty good climb up into there. It's pretty steep. So if we've had 2 fresh feet of snow in there, then you know, I'm breaking trail every time.
That patch of softwoods inside the hardwood stand caught your attention. Is there a reason for that? They quite frankly.
So marten and fisher, especially marten, would like old growth softwood stands. And squirrels like the cones in there, and marten like the squirrels. So there's a natural progression there in terms of and that way, like it's like a little island here in the midst of the hardwood stand.
That are a similar sized softwood area elsewhere.
That's right. So a similar size. So I would think there would be marten all through this area here, but it just this happens to be sort of like it just jumped out. It jumped out at me, and it became one of my best spots for marten. Yeah, that's right. The softwood trees in here, some of them, there's some beautiful spruce trees in there. Some of them are almost 2 feet in diameter. So I enjoy walking through there, setting the cameras up in there. So that gives you a perspective. Now I'm going to give you a little bit, just a little more here. So when we did the Nature NB field trip, Phil jokingly thought we were driving to see his mother in Montreal. We were so far into the woods. We stopped at this location. Now there's another road right here. So I'm going to give you some perspective here. So here's Miramichi. Here's where we were. Here's Plaster Rock. You know, Fredericton's directly south. We're really in the middle of nowhere here. This is the only place I've ever had a camera stolen, ironically. Moose hunters. So it's a fantastic spot. This is where that moose that was in the beaver pond that came out and looked at you in the previous video. This is the beaver pond that it was in right here. So when Melanie and Phil and Melanie, I forget the other young lady's name. Do you remember it? Or Phil?
Oh, I have it. I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay. We actually came up to this large pond here. And Melanie, this is the first time you're learning this, and Phil, probably the first time you're learning this too. So again, looking at what do I see here? Well, I see a very large meadow, former beaver pond, and there'll be moose there for sure. There'll be other animals. It's cut here, so they would stay certainly in this thin area of woods, I would expect. So on the Nature NB trip, what we did is we actually set 2 cameras up in here as well. I went the first time to check them, and it had been windy, very, very windy for 2 or 3 days, and most of the cameras were just videos of trees blowing back and forth. We try and clean the trees up as much as we can, but it was just trees blowing back and forth. Went back 3 weeks later, and both cameras were gone from this location. And I thought, well, what's going on there? And then I noticed a salt lick on the ground, so somebody was hunting moose and saw the cameras. But what they did, ironically, is they actually hung the camera. So I started doing bigger circles and bigger circles, and they hung the cameras up quite a ways over here. And I actually found them hanging in a tree. So I think what they did was they probably thought, I'm going to hang them over here. If they don't find them in 6 months, I'll just take them and they'll be mine. They took the cards out of them. But they were stupid enough to put their own camera on the salt lick. So I went over and I made a copy of their card, and the person had their face on the card. And so anyway, I left it at that. That was enough. If we ever want to have a discussion, it's an outfitter actually. And if we ever want to have a discussion about it, we can. We won't, I hope. I don't want a confrontation over it. But so just for perspective from a macro level, that's what I'm looking at. Are there water bodies there? Are there natural flows? Are there stands that are distinct or unique? How would a fisher or marten behave in there? Coyotes we can find most everywhere. Moose we can find most everywhere. Bears will find you, no problem. So if I'm looking for specific animals, if I'm looking for mink, muskrat, and otter, I need to be right on the brooks and the water. Same with beavers, of course. But for the other animals that I like, the boreal fur bearers, marten and fish are really my interest. And part of the reason for that, I'm going to jump out of this, but part of the reason for that is when I was in university, I did a forestry degree from 1982 to 87, and I thought I was going to be a fur biologist. And so that's something that just interested me. Wildlife fur bearing, boreal fur bearers, basically. There was one fur biologist in the province of Brunswick. His name was Dave Cartwright. John, you probably knew him, I would think. And Dave was 40 years old. So I was smart enough to do the math and say, look, I'm just a kid, I'm 22 or 23, and if I want the job that he has, he's got 20 more years in it. So I'm gonna have to go find something else to do. So I switched over to forest management and moved out of the wildlife option that I was in. But I still have always maintained the love of what I'm doing here, and this is how I get to keep doing that. Um, so that's at a macro level. So if we look at a micro level, once we're on the ground, what are we looking for? Beaver ponds, wonderful locations for animals. They're going to drink there, they're going to swim there, they're going to play there, they're going to walk through them, they're going to walk along the ponds, along the dams, and so forth. There's going to be trails down both sides of them. This pond, actually, this is the same pond that you saw the moose in. This is different moose. This one only has one side to its rack on its horns. But this is something that you don't usually see very often. So when you get these kinds of characters together in the pond, it's always kind of neat too. You never know what you might have across it in that case. This is one of the fisher den boxes that I built. I built 3 of them. They're not easy to get up in the trees. They're 6 or 7 or 8 feet above my head, or like above the ground over my head. Fishers like them. They'll go in them, but they have not had any young in them yet. You see, I've got a metal plate around it too to help keep animals from chewing the edge of it and making the hole larger and trying to get you enough kits and things like that. This is one area that got washed away. It was a bend in a river, so the river brook actually is just right here. And this was a wonderful spot. This is where you saw that lynx. I've had otters up here playing, mink, martin fisher. I threw it all orange there. The fisher thought, well, I like orange. No, it was chewing on it. I've done this a number of times as well too. This is a running pole. So this is a small female fisher, very pretty animal. And you can see that at times I will use bait. So some people don't like that at all. Some are okay with it. I use it generally for martin and fisher in the wintertime to attract them, and it does attract them. So they like, the joke is the martin and fisher and Renos really love the fish you get from the bay, the mackerel from down the bay. So some animals just use them as a perch.
Right.
Yes.
Running water triggering your choking?
No, not in that case. No, it was just far enough away. Yeah, but it will at times. It depends. Sunlight reflecting off water will at times as well too. So there's our martin again. There's actually 2 martin hanging around here. And again, you can see the little den box. This is the first den box that I built. I built it too small. It should have been deeper. But the martin go in and out of it, but they've not had any young in it yet. You can see them scoop right up the pole, no problem. They use that very well.
You have martin there before you can talk?
Yeah, yeah. There, I've seen martin there 3 times now. I've physically seen them. Be able to get pictures of. This is the log. You saw a mink running across that log. Fallen logs across brooks are fantastic. You'll see some really nice footage later on at this particular log and another log as well too. Some really cool stuff. And then of course all the waterways. I've got some nice otters playing here right in front of the camera. This little muskrat swimming around. This is where you saw the beaver earlier. And just a nice section. But the beavers will dam this periodically. I've lost a camera here, maybe 2. Because if it rains really heavily, I'm concerned about that. Like it's so dry right now that the ground is going to be hard for the ground to absorb a lot of water. Ponds are going to rise very quickly. Rivers are going to rise very quickly once the rain starts. And I've got cameras that are maybe a foot off the ground, and sometimes if the beavers get industrious, they can be 2 feet underwater very quickly. So if the rain starts, I have to go move cameras around. Same is true in the wintertime. Every 3 weeks, I'm doing this for a while, and then I'm doing this for a while. So I'm moving them up the trees as the snow comes, and then I'm moving them back down the trees as the snow recedes into the spring. So you're a quiet group anyway. So my voice might be on this too, so ignore that. But SD cards, they'll fill. There's 60 gigs, nothing free on it. You get things like the sun will start to trigger cameras depending on how you set them. So I try not to set the cameras pointing where the sun's going to be. I try to move them away. Here you can see This is Phil. We talked about this before too. This little animal here. But you can see what the wind's doing. Like with the wind blowing like that, the camera will get triggered because the camera is a motion camera. It's set to have something activated in front of it. Even something like that, you can see like the beech tree that's in the back, the brown leaves on it that are still holding. That happens. I stuck a piece of bread on this, but they say if you're in the woods and a tree falls, does anyone hear it? Well, sometimes you actually catch one on camera.
There's no audio.
No audio there. No, no. It would have been a loud snap. I can do that. Heard me? Yeah, still nobody here. That's correct. Exactly. So let's see if this will open up. Okay. So different types of trail cameras. Um, what I've been doing lately, most of the cameras I've been using have been this type of a format. So I've probably purchased 30 over the last 5 years, somewhere between 70 and $100 a piece on average. That's probably not the most expensive part of the business. I'll do 200 kilometers at 14 liters per 100 kilometers as I'm traveling back and forth. I go through quite a few batteries. I've tried um, I've tried recyclable batteries, but I find they don't get enough voltage, certainly in the wintertime. Phil has some that he uses, so obviously Phil and I know each other well, and we've talked about this quite a bit. But I have been starting to use these cameras with the little solar panel on them, and I have two of them. I purchased two of them this year, and they're working well so far. Little different resolution and how they capture the imagery, but they only take 4 batteries, and they're still at 100%. They've been like that all summer. The only issue with these is they need to be exposed. So as you can appreciate, a lot of the footage that I'm getting, a lot of the placement of where I'm doing the cameras is undercover somewhere, beside a tree, under a tree, next to a brook, a lot of shade. Where we're looking for moose, for example, around bogs and beaver ponds and things, these are a good solution, absolutely. And I'll add more of these to my collection over time as others get worn away. Had a bear chew one the other day. It's non-commissionable anymore. He came right in, took a great big bite out of it, and I have bears come along and they slap it like that, and they'll slap it back, and the camera will go. And all of a sudden, you're looking at this for a while, and then it's over here for a while, and the camera keeps moving back and forth, and it's just that's why when I had the camera stolen, it really didn't bother me because bears beat them up so much. In part, I suspect, yes, it's new, it's different. Moose are probably even more curious than bears when it comes to cameras. I call it a fog buy. So a moose will come up if it sees the camera there, big snort right in front of it, and the camera just fogs up and stays like that for about 10 seconds, 20 seconds, then it'll start to recede again. The moose will come back in, big snort again, fog right up again, and it'll come back down. Fog buys is what I call them. And yeah, plastic, or if I still have the smell of fish on my hands, if I'm doing any of that, absolutely. I think just normal smells from a human aren't. That's right. And like, if I'm up in the middle of nowhere, basically, and they'll smell me, like they'll smell my rubber boots. If I stopped at a gas station, they'll smell the tracks of my rubber boots. So they'll pick that up easily enough. But so you can see like price ranges here. Obviously, you get what you pay for here. The top of the line cameras are more in the Brownings and so forth. Here's a spy point. So these are the cameras that you can get a cell connection for. But everywhere I go, there's no cell connection for me. So there's one or two little spots where I can actually get a cell connection, but other than that, just a point for any of you who are in the woods quite a bit. My wife bought me a new iPhone for Christmas, and the reason that she got me that was instead of getting me a Garmin, which would allow me to text back to her, I'm okay, I'm safe, I haven't been eaten by a bear. This thing actually has free satellite messaging on it. So if I'm out of cell coverage, I can actually open this up and it says, "Do you want to connect to satellite?" Yes. And you just turn until you find it, and then you can text. You can't send pictures, you can't send emails, but you can text back and forth with the iPhone, I think 14, 15, 16, whatever that they have for the most recent ones. But this gives you an understanding. And I've been using a brand called Apeman. They had something called an H70 model, which I really liked. It worked very well, and of course they discontinued it. They moved on to the 80 because it was newer, it was nicer, it was shinier, and I don't think it works very well. So I've actually started picking up some of these cameras, and they're $70 a piece, and I buy them. Sometimes I tell my wife, sometimes I don't, but she knows. She understands. It's a hobby, so. Okay.
Ryan, that animal, was that a wood rat? Yeah. What did you think it was? The little animal on top.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, but I don't know if it was or not. I still don't know. I haven't looked. I haven't stopped to think about it again since I saw that. We talked about it 2, 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. I don't know. It's been a while. So, um, 10 minutes of just animals doing what animals do.
And for any AI cameras now, like integrations.
Yes, slowly starting, but yeah, not there yet. There's lots of room for it. It's very back scratch. I probably have a half a dozen bears that have scratched their backs like that. It's fun to watch them. That's a pretty good sized bear there. If you wanted to wrestle a bear, that's a full bear to wrestle. Now that, on the other hand, it's like having a little pointer dog. Yeah, no, this is my place. Yeah, I'm okay here. I saw a bear Saturday or Sunday. A cub, a 2-year-old. Those are the ones that are worse on the camera because they're by themselves now, and they're just curious and they're teenagers, basically. Oh, we're going to answer another question. So if a tree falls in the forest, does anyone hear it? Does the bear? Well, Catholic, I suppose, they're not there. So. I guess I kept these sort of in alphabetical order as well, too. Oh, you have any volume here? This would be good to have volume with. I'm just gonna see if I can pause this for a second. So any windows. Okay, so that's fine. Oh, audio and video are both on. That's too bad. All right, go back. Yeah, they do sound as well. I didn't have it on there. I think this is a mother and a big kit. See muskrats and beavers swimming here. I had a wonderful shot of otters here. I think it might actually be on this roof as well too. Lawn coyote. I've had a few of them. Most of them are gray in color, but and as you get up around halfway across the Plaster Rock Highway, there are some very, very large coyotes up there. Very large. Now, I'm told there's no real such thing as coy wolves. That's what I'm told. But they're a cross. They happen to have some wolf in them. They're huge. I had 3 of them. I had 3 of those. Like the hand dogs on my front car. Well, coyotes? Yeah. Yeah. This was after a quick snow. So you can see it's December 25th there. That Herman had his coat on with the snow is gone. I got this Fisher slowed right down to nothing. That. So there's a mother fisher. I saw that, I went, oh! Then I went, oh, oh! I literally did. A mother fisher with 3 young, and I'm on a Facebook group that they said they've never seen that either. It's really like it's a North American wide Facebook group for trail cameras. And now she's feeding the kids. We I think she found a nest of ducks or something. Very young. Flying squirrel. You'll know in a second for sure. Oh, come on. Here we go. The fact that we had to mute so much, there should be some normal natural sounds in the background that you're hearing. Nice. Yeah. He heard something, he or she heard something off in the distance there. Critters like that one, yeah.
American got spots.
Sorry.
Oh, got readings.
Okay.
Oh, so.
The Bay of America. So you see, and it's paw, selling paw. Little snack. This is that same log. That log is no longer pulled out. Can't rot. And I know there's a bunch more like it. I keep trying. I have one other that's really good. It went underwater this spring though. So I'm always scrounging looking for more crossings like this. They don't have to be massive. Like this is a small little crossing, but you see like we had everything on this. I had a deer walk across this spring. Literally on the log. See? Yeah, caught a second one. Went in and caught a second one as well. And then going like, okay, who are you? What's this? This is new. Not very, less than 4. So. What hawk is this? Rod. Okay. Here. Stand there all the time too. Yeah. I get quite a few herons on cameras. Squirrel. It's a she. Let's see why in a minute. This is the log that I lost this spring. It's gone. The cameras on either end, you'll get to see them face on as well too. I've not had any lynx kittens during the day yet. I haven't had very many of these kittens. Oh, they just walk like the normal place. For cats. Yeah, they do. It's true. She's wearing? Oh, yeah. Thank you. That's when they're up on their hinds. It's wonderful to see. Now, watch very closely. This mink chases fish back up under. Fast swimmers in the water, especially when there's a drink in front of them. This was from back where I had the property back at East Steel. And otters like to do a little dance. So there's a suggested online, maybe it would help us humans too, we don't know. And then, of course, snow becomes the white. Yeah, that's you. Again, a surprising number of otters in groups. It's always fun. Very playful. It's moves to share radiant over the ears, right down feeding beaver ponds. I've been noticing beavers starting to redam ponds lately as well too. I'm assuming they just must looking for a water flow where they can get it. This is fun too. Bowling for otters. Little scams. That's where we saw the fox as well. To be camera location. And it's just a natural, it's an old beaver pond, natural flow through. I have cameras on either side for animals that are walking up and down along the side of the streams, and then, of course, right on the main waterway as well. It's again shallow, maybe 2 feet of water here. Otters travel through it, had beavers. That's that gives you an overview. I don't know how many videos and so forth at home, but
5 minutes. Roughly. Like 5 minutes.
it so on any given camera, so I had a camera set up at an old beaver pond that I checked on Saturday. There were 80 videos on it, 80 30-second videos. 60 were trees blowing around just because. 20 were animals, moose, deer for the most part, some bear. In that case, I don't think there are any fish or links to that. So there's 80 videos at 30 seconds piece. There's 40 minutes for that one. So it takes me as long to go through the footage Saturday, Sunday, into Monday as it does to actually go collect them, to go drive up, collect them, and come home. But it's fun. I have a number of old cameras, so I take the best old camera that I have and I use it for actually checking on site. So I do that for two reasons. I want to see if there are animals there and if they were behaving in a certain way, if I should do something. And I want to make sure that the camera was pointing in the right direction and so forth. And if something's been adjusted, if something's out of whack, then I can adjust the camera accordingly by looking at that. But I'll spend 5, 6, 7 hours just going through the footage every 3 weeks. Now, because of the band that was on in the woods, I was 6 weeks this time before I was able to get the cameras. And like I had a lot of great footage on the weekend when I checked them on Saturday. I'll show you a few other things. Just a couple of other real quick. Just sort of some odds and ends. Oh, wait.
For navigation, for an app on the iPhone, or do you use?
What are these words you're using? Huh? I own a compass, son. I heard Ian laugh too, so thank you, Ian. Appreciate it.
early GPS prototype.
Yeah, that's right. Ranger 15T.
Yeah.
Then you watch your video to see if there's something you
Yes.
need.
No, just so this is just some odds and ends that I picked up on camera as well too. If an animal came along and gave it a hit or something, or if it's too high or too low, if it snowed, do I need to adjust the camera? Is there a better location for it? Is it not being pointed where I think it should be? Just, I had a camera set up here and this person and his dog walked right by. This lady was fishing. She was fishing on the 1st of May with a spinning rod, which she's not supposed to do, but anyway, I'm not going to say anything. I don't know. But you see that, this guy walked by the camera too. He didn't see it. Just out hunting. So you get odds and ends like that too. I don't, given that I'm pretty remote, I don't get a lot of those that 10 with or anything. But what I did do is we have a woodlot in Renews, and so I'm pointing at the river, and I took a picture every hour for 3 years. I just let it run.
Run into any prospectors.
Not too much. If I did, they would tell me they're prospecting anyway.
There's a pretty good mineral claim there.
Yeah.
Devil's Brook and Ford. Wall Street,
Yes.
in between that area, there's a mining company claimed it anyway.
Okay. They put a claim on the property I have up at East Steel too. So I thought this would be kind of fun to do, just to let it go and just to see the seasons change. Now that river today is about 1/3 of the width of what you see there. Through. This is property that's been in the family since 1901, actually. So I'm the caretaker this time around. Right.
Brian, it was Sarah McCafferty. She's from the Burnt Church watershed.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I shared her Facebook link to her watershed on the comments in the Zoom.
Excellent. Appreciate that. Thank you, Melanie. So Kevin, this is the only AI I have. In fact, he made me have a real neat picture of an American marketplace, and he made a pretty good one. That's it. Happy to take any questions. You were very quiet, proud. Yes.
The ermine's bigger than a weasel.
Say again, sorry.
That ermine there, that's bigger than a weasel.
So they're the same animal. One's a winter and one's summer. So in the winter time, it's white. It's called an ermine, and in the summertime, it's called a weasel, and it's brown. They both have a little black tail. You saw the black tail on weasel that's there.
Some of them are bigger than others.
Pardon me, short-tailed weasels really not.
I had one wanted to attack me.
Yeah. You must have had some cookies in your pocket.
No, it's amazing. Must have young around it, huh?
Yeah, I got one of those. Yes, sir.
GeoNB for that, usually, just as a reflex, I go on Google Earth, is it so much difference or?
No, I've used GeoMB for a long time, but I actually, Google Earth tends to have more current, like cut areas and stuff like that. Okay. So the GeoMB one is only updated periodically in each region. I think it's like a 10-year cycle or something like that. And Google is satellite based, so it's more current. It's a year or two out. So if you see a new road going through the woods, you can look on the map and see you can drive it, of course, but you can look up that.
Right.
See where it's headed.
I was gonna ask you, I alluded to it. Well, I was gonna ask you, why are you doing this? Is it just a personal interest or a professional reason for things you're
It's not professional, so full disclosure, when I was in high school, I was a young trapper. That took me into the forestry program, so I graduated from UMB's forestry program in '87. Have trapped for 30, 40 years, whatever it's been, but and I always had an interest in animals, essentially fur bearers especially. Always kind of fascinated with them, and so started at kind of a young age. The history of our family is my grandfather was the warden on the Plaster Rock Highway, Herman Donovan. My dad graduated Ranger School in '57, so he was a practicing technician for many years. And then I had a chance to go to forestry school and kind of stayed in the bloodline and was able to. So I had a fly rod in my hand when I was 6 years old, things like that.
I don't read this highway on Friday path. I was surprised to see 7 wild turkeys.
Yeah, yeah,
I've seen them down around Centerville, Clarksville, when I was curious, went down near the border on Mars Hill around that area,
Mhm.
the Canadian side of it. I've never seen them this far north before.
I saw two about 2 months ago. Same thing on the Plattsburgh Highway. I didn't show you any pictures of turkey vultures, but I have a number of turkey vultures as well too. Had them as far north as Wogan Lake, so I don't know if people get how.
Turkey vultures and Millback.
Yeah,
A few years ago, there was a bee or something inside the road.
yeah,
Right where that place where they built a little sheds, and just past that, the little wooden section, right there, in the pool of there, these, they're all fallen. No, I haven't seen any since.
If you've got turkey vultures on your camera, I suspect they might have something to do with bait. Is it like the accident of your bait?
yeah. Or if I found. So if I see a porcupine on the side of the road as I'm driving up the camera, so I'll throw the porcupine back to the truck and throw it in the woods and set a camera there. It's good for the environment, I guess.
No, you kill
All kinds. Blue jays, the blue jays are actually kind of fun in the wintertime. Where you saw the martin, there's 4, 5, 6, 8 blue jays there at any given time. It's because of the mackerel. There's no fish, start eating. They're pretty through the winter, especially if you get like that bluebird going background. I'm not sure. But lots of crows, ravens. Not too many roosters. And then most of the smaller birds, like the forest birds, I don't get them. They don't tend to stop very much because I don't seeds more than what I'm putting out there. And a lot of where I have the cameras, put up for on the students, they haven't fly by. I'm not a birder at heart, so. A lot of people are I respect that, but my interest is more in the four-legged factor.
And that's what when children reviews this where photos and ready to watching.
I know on your Nature Miramichi outing, and I respect why we were on your outing, but the number of birds that you have access to that you just hear in the background was quite overwhelming and quite a pleasure, actually. I know in one spot there was like 5 Cape Mays and I think 7 Nashville's or not Tennessee's, sorry, like just singing all in these wild spots that you hang out in. And then that Canada warbler that popped up and the black-throated blue at one of the last stops you had. Just, it's kind of a treat for you.
And because of Melanie and Phil, I installed Merlin on my phone, of course. And not last time, but the time before, actually, what I did was I stopped and I stayed there for 10 minutes. I put the phone on it each time to collect the birds that were at each location. I didn't get to Canada again, but I'll keep trying to see. I'll lose that bird fairly soon, won't I, Melanie? It'll be gone shortly. I'm assuming the Canada warbler.
Yeah, I'd say they're probably on the move, but you never know way out there. Again,
Yeah.
like the first place you took us to, which is fascinating. The first place he drove us in was a road with his half ton where the brush kind of scraped his truck a bit. And then he parked in this open spot with an old burnt out vehicle. And then he looked at the bush and we put our gear on and we walked through the bush to this open trail but it wasn't a human trail. It was a critter trail, which was quite fascinating. I guess that's what it is. It seemed that way. And then you took us off to the ponds. I remember at every place you took us, I'm like, this is rusty blackbird or Canada warbler territory. Anyways, that was one of the
Mel,
best
your favorite. Come on.
outdoor trips I've ever had. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
What's your ideal rate? You're trying to focus. Okay.
You? So it depends on the animal, of course. If I'm looking for a moose, I probably have to get back here a little bit. Deer, but if I want to make yeah, I like to see right there or weasel. Great question.
Yeah.
I have had over 30 lakes on cameras. All of my cameras are north of Plattsburgh Highway, so north of the city, north of the 108. I've had 0 bobcats. 0. The theory that I've heard, and I don't know if it's true or not, is that the lynx are starting to move down back to Housey, up the other side of Hamilton. When the Christmas melts happened, all of a sudden there was 20,000 hectares of young balsam fir. Basically, there's all kinds of trees falling down, lots of balsam fir. Rabbit population exploded. There's some huge over for rabbits everywhere, which meant it's not opportunity for lynx. And then lynx, being about another third bigger than bobcats, said, no, this is our territory now, you go away. A lot of people in towns think I will never stop, I'm not. And so people that I know that have cameras in southern part of the province are getting up. But I have not had any, and like that, I'm sure it's pretty good around the region. So I've not had a stump, I've not had a porcupine, really, I've not had about 1 of my cameras. Just really, that's where we go camping. I had otters probably half a kilometer from water, but never had not had those 3 occasions really.
Do you ever produce still pictures from your films and?
So I started with stills, and then I went to stills and videos, and then I said, I just need the videos. So it's costing me more for batteries, but on a camera, so on an SD card, let's say 60 gigs, I might get 3, 4, 500 videos on it, depending on how long I have the videos for. And like there could be 200, but the wind is going on and so forth. But I prefer the videos, and I try and get them 20 or 30 seconds. If I want to extract stills from them, I can do 30. So some of the pictures that you saw here were actually stills to check. Just pause it, screen capture it, and then there we go. So that's why I didn't bother. I figured instead of trying to get a still and a video, which you could do with cameras, so let me just shoot with the videos. And if they stay there, if I get them 6, 8, 10, 12 times on video, that's fantastic because then I've got a lot of footage. And find what I like. Sorry.
The old people talk to the parents of being with some of your we know a lot of them exist. I never really tell the turkey or here. Are there any other animals that are unlegally here? Like, yeah.
So I've said to my wife before, if I ever get a cougar on the camera, I'm going to tell you first, and you and I are going to have to figure out how we're going to compare those, because there's going to be a lot of media. I haven't had coyote. I'm sorry.
I don't remember coyote. Oh no, no,
So coyotes when I was in high school, so back in the late 70s, early 80s, when the coyotes really started to show up around here like that. Those koi wolves that we talked about earlier, like they were probably that high at the top of their head. They were very, very large. Gray, looking like a wolf. And gray is the little classified coyotes. Nothing like no opossum or anything like that, no armadillos or anything, nothing odd that way, but
no Wolverine.
no, as much as I love Wolverine, yeah, there was.
And which troops?
So
Hey, Brian.
I don't think I've had turtles. Sorry, Donnie. Go ahead.
Have you ever been escorted by coyotes on any of your outings?
Not not during the outings, but I have had coyotes walk me back to the truck when I was working in the woods. So we had them howling. Carrie Casey and I were doing a plot in a 5-year-old plantation. The coyotes weren't too far away howling. I looked at Carrie, Carrie looked at me, said, "Yeah, time to go back to the truck, isn't it?" Yeah, it's time to go back to the truck. There's probably 7 or 8 of them, we figured. And that they didn't come within eyesight, but they were howling and they were close. So I had a bad bear encounter one time, not in the woods, but in a camp where the bear tried to get into the camp. We were fishing in northern Manitoba, and the bear, it was the 21st of June, the bear had just woken up. So we were very far north, almost up to the territory border. And we stuck a fish. We were fishing for pike and lake trout, and the bear started circling the camp, and then we had a sliding window, big window looking out over the lake, sliders at the bottom. We had one slider open, the bear stuck his head inside the camp like that, started looking around. One guy grabbed a rod case and poked him on the nose, and the bear backed off. The bear came around and he started beating on the door. And there was another guy and I holding the door like that as the bear was scrambling up the door. Big bear too, but that's as close as I've had. I carry bear spray. I have an axe in my hand and I have bear spray on my hip all the time. I don't carry a weapon, but I'm not quite. I'd be a horrible photographer in the woods because I don't sneak around. I just, thanks for coming to cameras. How you doing? Make sure they hear me.
Brian, how many cameras do you have?
So Ian, I have about 20 in the woods right now, and I've probably purchased 30 over the years. I've had one stolen. I've had the bears probably ruin 5 or 6 or 7 on me. They usually ruin 1 or 2 a year. And by ruin, I mean like they bite them and drive their claws in them and tear them all apart and do whatever they can to them. And what I do is I probably have anywhere from 7 to 10 locations at any point in time. So I'll have 2 or 3 cameras generally at every location. I could theoretically try and do 20 locations, but I play myself out trying to get to them. It would take me 2 days to cover all that ground. So what I usually do is I'll do a double setup every time I set up cameras. One on a log crossing and one on the brook beside it, or one on the trail beside the brook, or whatever it might be. Or if I'm doing one up pointing at a fisher den box or a marten den box, I'll have another one on the ground. So if a lynx walks by, I want to see the lynx, if it's smelling what's going on there, and so forth. So it's generally how I do the setup.
Yeah. And these cameras, they're pretty much all set up to detect motion, is it?
Yeah, so the motion detector, they take 8 AA batteries. The batteries usually last me, so the lithium energizer batteries are the best batteries for them. That's because of the chemistry. They're fantastic in the wintertime. So the lithium energizers, they'll run, like I can run them 6 months in the wintertime, no problem. Copper tops will last 2 months, maybe something like that in the wintertime. They'll last 6 months this time of year, no problem. It's the cold that really gets them. If we get down to -30 or -35, then the cold really zaps the copper top batteries. But the lithiums, like I said, it's different chemistry, so they're fine. They go until they don't. They show 1.7 volts on them, and then all of a sudden they show like 0.8 or something overnight. Literally, when they're done, they're done. But the problem is they're $4 a piece now. So 20 cameras times 8 batteries times $4 is, I got to go back to work. Any other questions? This is fun. I enjoy this, as you can tell.
Well, I don't know whether you ever picked up any amphibians or reptiles, but, so maybe they don't, not
Sorry,
big
Ian, they
enough.
were flapping prematurely. Go ahead,
No.
Ian.
You never pick up any amphibians or reptiles with the cameras?
I don't target them. I do see them at times. I had a dragonfly hover in front of a camera one time, and the camera picked it up. Toads, frogs, those sorts of things. I get snakes once in a while. I really don't try and set up for them. And given how small they are, I really have to focus on target them.
Yeah.
But the cameras would work quite well, I think, for them if you set them up into their habitats, their micro habitats.
Mm-hmm. All right, thanks. Great
Wonderful, thank you.
presentation.
Try that again.
Super, thank you. Like your
Thank you
poking
both.
too.
So what I'll do is while you're having snacks, I'll just let a bunch of other videos run in the background. Is that okay?